But we perfected this trick, and I'm going to show you a little video here where David Letterman poked fun at us. I had heard from a skier that if you do a snow angel in the snow, your chances of being seen by a search aircraft go up 40% because there's movement involved. I always tell people when they're lost in the desert that you got to get down if a search aircraft is overhead and be seen, because your head looks like a 6-inch rock and you're not going to be visible at all. So my wife I remember we taped this bit you're going to see in a minute from David Letterman. My wife got in a tree, and I got on the ground and did this goofy-looking snow angel in the dirt. And David Letterman has a piece called Crazy Videos, and he pokes fun at bizarre scenes from videos, and he picked our video out of about 15 to poke fun at one night. And the long and short of it is that trick was featured on Survivor, in the original Survivor, when one of the team members had to be seen by an aircraft, and they did the trick that I had perfected. So let's see if we can get this on here.
A local radio talk show host did a double take last week when he was watching the CBS show Survivor. This was the scene, the castaways doing snow angels on the beach as a distress signal to pilots flying overhead. That's something Preston Westmorland of KTAR Radio taught people in this video on desert survival. It's a technique that was the butt of a joke 4 years ago by David Letterman. Take a look.
Our next video is called Stay Alive, a guide to survival in mountainous areas. And tonight we'll be learning how to increase your chances of being rescued. Watch closely.
Search aircraft overhead. You can improve your chances of being seen if you try this. Lie on the ground and move your arms and legs like when you were a kid in the snow and made snow angels. In search exercises, your odds of being spotted are much higher when in this position.
Oh, sure, they'll see you, but are they going to want to pick you up?
You see, we got a lot of gear to pack, and you want to start loading, and I'm going to do the weight and balance here, or what?
I have a better idea. I'll do the weight and balance, and you do the loading.
It always happens like this.
Remember, the key to enjoying the wilderness is the preparation you put into the trip. Every camper likes to decide how primitive an experience it'll be, and as you can see here, we like to be comfortable. In fact, it's kind of like stuffing a telephone booth. A lot of our smaller items are packed into larger containers for easy loading and unloading. A word of advice, be ready for anything. Take extra meals in case you get weathered in, rain gear, a good toolkit and survival pack. By the way, watch your weight and balance, especially in the excitement of packing for vacation.
Flying is part of my active life, so why not stop dreaming? Start flying.
Try flying for $49. 888-BE-A-PILOT or
BeAPilot.com.
Now, I could go on and on telling you how great flying is, but instead, you should hear it from people just like you. Just like you, except at some point, they took that first step. They made a phone call or visited the airport and got started on the adventure of a lifetime. Preston Westmorland is one of those people who took that first step. And now, he and his wife Nancy can't imagine a life without flying. Preston is a popular radio talk show host at KTAR in Phoenix and depends on his airplane for both business and pleasure.
You know, one of the most popular features on my radio program is called Arizona Getaways, and each week I get a chance to highlight a really unique Arizona destination, tell the folks all about it. And how do I make it real and interesting? If it weren't for my ability to fly to some of these unique Arizona destinations, talk to the people, see the lay of the land, see some of the sights, Arizona Getaways just wouldn't be possible. My airplane is really one of the most valuable business tools I own.
Preston is a hard-driving guy, and his ability to fly is part of what makes him so successful. But like many pilots, his ability to fly means more to him than just business.
My talk show on KTAR is rated one of the top talk shows in the nation. And during the week, I work pretty hard on the program, and some pretty long hours to keep it that way. But on Saturday and Sunday, my best business tool, my airplane, becomes a magic carpet for myself and my wife Nancy, taking us to places we could never reach by automobile in a weekend. From our home just outside Phoenix, we can take off on a Saturday morning and spend a delightful weekend in any number of different locations. One of our favorite weekend activities is air camping, flying to remote locations in Arizona, Utah, Mexico, or Idaho, where we can pitch a tent and enjoy the solitude.
Preston doesn't feel you have to be a genius to learn how to fly.
Flying is a skill, just like any skill. and it's learnable by most people. Now, it won't be the easiest thing you've ever done in your life, but if you're willing to study, learn some new concepts, and apply yourself, you can be a pilot in as few as 3 or 4 months.
Even though Preston now owns an airplane, he started out by renting. As a matter of fact, about 2/3 of pilots rent airplanes when they want to fly. And renting definitely has advantages.
On KTAR 620 AM News Talk Radio, when you're around Preston Westmorland, you're either talking about his show in the afternoons here or the noon news daily on KTAR, or you're talking about flight. That's it. Those are the two choices. And we talk enough about radio here, so we're talking about flight and private planes. What kind of people are we sending up? The private pilots themselves?
I think they're self-driving, a lot of type A motivated people. I think a lot of very successful people. I have been always critical of the aviation community for failure to sell aviation. I don't think flyers sell aviation as much as they could anymore and sell the utility of the aircraft. For example, my wife and I will go airplane camping out in the wilderness. I can beat an airliner to Los Angeles. If I get in my plane right now, I will be on the ground in Los Angeles, probably at an airport that's more convenient, in 2 hours and 20 minutes. If I said for you to go down and take an airliner to Los Angeles, the quickest you could be on the ground is 3 hours and 20 minutes. So I can beat you by an hour in a small plane. People don't realize.
And the Trust Fund for Aviation is done in 2 ways. Every time you buy, Pat, a ticket on the airline, there is a 10% ticket tax. And that's the way the airlines pay into the system. Now, since there's no ticket on Preston's plane when he goes to Los Angeles in record time, he pays into the system by every time he buys a gallon of aviation fuel.
Tonight we are also learning more about a September 11th hijacker from the man who taught him how to fly. Hani Hanjour is the terrorist who flew a hijacked plane into the Pentagon. He attended CRM flight school right here in Scottsdale. Today, Hanjour's instructor talked to KTAR Radio's Preston Westmorland about his infamous student. Now, he wants to remain anonymous, so we are disguising his voice.
I was crying for about 2 weeks, and I couldn't sleep for, at least 4 or 5 weeks I couldn't sleep.
Hani Hanjour's instructor says he was devastated when he learned this death and destruction was caused by one of his students.
I was almost suicidal at that point because I felt so responsible for even just knowing these people.
What kind of a student was Hani Hanjour? A slow learner who started concerning his flight instructor when he refused to land the plane or practice stalls and steep turns.
He would just refuse. He would start crying and he would, refuse to do it. He would beg with me, plead with me not to.
Hanjour's instructor says he even had to cancel several flights because his student was so emotional. And when he saw what Hanjour did, there was a feeling that a trust was violated.
That trust that we put in those people, so they can take their skills and spread them across the world in a good manner, have been totally violated in the most grotesque manner.
Amazing. The plane that Kennedy was flying was a Piper Saratoga. Phoenix radio talk show host Preston Westmorland also flies a Piper Saratoga. He tells us flying at night, especially near the ocean, tests a pilot's skills.
Here in the valley, Preston Westmorland, a pilot of 17 years and an FAA safety counselor, flies a Piper Saratoga.
This is about the height above the water he would have been at.
2,000 feet is where radar spotted a dramatic change in Kennedy's altitude.
Talk show host Preston Westmorland also owns a Piper Saratoga and has flown the planes for almost 14 years. He says it's very difficult to fly at night and it's easy to become disoriented.
The human body cannot tell you which way is up, and pilots sometimes have a real difficult problem.
And why are government officials seemingly more concerned than the public? Who better to talk about the numbers than people with their finger on the pulse of the communities like Lisa Evers, who hosts a talk show on Hot 97 FM in New York, and Preston Westmorland, who hosts a show on KTAR in Phoenix. Mr. Westmorland, let me start with you. Are your listeners nervous at all on a daily basis?
Dan, I think it's off the radar screen for the people out here, and it really depresses me. I did my daily flag count today. I drive 30 miles to work, and I counted one American flag on a car. And the bad thing, the frustrating thing about this is that we have the largest nuclear power plant downwind from Phoenix, the Palo Verde nuclear power plant. We're close proximity to the border, where we, on an average month, capture about 80,000 illegal aliens trying to stream into the state of Arizona. We've had terrorist activities before with Timothy McVeigh scouting the federal building as one of the possible targets.
And yet people don't seem concerned, right? I mean, according to you,
they're not concerned at all. You mentioned Moussaoui. I did a show on Moussaoui, and we had to change the topic. Nobody called.
Lisa Evers, a little bit of a different story in New York.
It definitely is a different story in New York, but I'm not.
He talks to hundreds of thousands of people every day, and I'm one of those that's listening. He has been doing it for 25 years.
All right, you probably know his name, Preston Westmorland. He just won this prestigious national award for his time on the air, of course, at KTAR. Carrie Pena spent some time with him this afternoon, got the scoop on his best and his worst moments of the past quarter century. Real interesting guy.
Yes, he is, and actually we were there on Friday for about 3 hours. Preston definitely has some incredible stories to tell, and when I asked him what would most surprise his listeners, he said it would be how completely unscripted and unplanned everything is.
Just give me a thumbs up and I'll go to him. Right.
Trying to land an interview with Kurt Schilling. It didn't happen, so Preston Westmorland went to Plan B. See, that's the thing about this business. There's always a Plan B. There's always something to talk about.
Let's face it, nobody buys a newspaper when it says 500 airplanes land safely today. News is when something goes wrong.
He's seen a lot go wrong over the years, and from national to local tragedies, he's talked about all of it live on the air.
I can tell you right away the worst moment I've had in 26 years on the air, 25 years, and that's when Mike Knutzman got killed, my traffic reporter. I go to him 2 minutes later, dead air, complete dead air. I come out in the newsroom, the scanner's alive with reports of a helicopter that's just crashed into a house near 32nd and Shea.
Of more than 26,000 interviews, Preston says he counts Charles Kuralt and Paul Harvey among his favorites. He also remembers a few missed opportunities.
One time they called and they wanted us to talk with a new actor who had a show that was headquartered in Hawaii. And at the time, I'd done a bunch of TV stuff, and I said, no, I'm burnt out on TV pilots. I don't want to do anybody else. And it was Tom Selleck from Magnum PI. We turned him down.
The goal is to get the topics that light up the lines.
Illegal immigration, unbelievable. Gun control, abortion. If you have an opinion on the air, you're going to make a lot of people angry.
But these guys get paid to have opinions, and as his hate mail suggests, Preston does make quite a few people angry. However, this was a relatively calm day in the talk radio world.
Let's go over and talk to my producer. I call him Mad Dog Moskowitz. A producer can make you look bad. That's right. It's like in television, you know, your beautiful face is on camera, but there's so many people that can make you look real bad. The camera's out of focus, if he doesn't do the white balance, if the sound is breaking up, you got...
He never does that to me.
And then it's time to do what he does best, talk. Today to a comedian.
I like your haircut there, Preston. That's a new style. It's called Give It a Couple Weeks.
Sometimes it's humorous, other times serious, but never all that glamorous.
And I'm over here in the cubbyhole. So,
we want to see your cubbyhole, Preston.
I'm wondering why
25 years,
I'm wondering why they
earn you.
I have one drawer.
But really, Preston says all he needs is a microphone and the inspiration to keep talking.
Right now. Okay.
And he's obviously doing something right. His show is rated #1. Of course, it airs from 3 to 7. He has one drawer. That's what you call low maintenance.
No kidding. He's a talented guy, too. He's also a pilot as well. So,
and he's a very nice man.
He really is. All right, great story, Carrie. Thanks.
Got one of those distinctive voices.